from the Gies Studio Complex. Welcome to this special mock live session from Gies College of Business at Illinois. Please check that your microphone is muted, your camera is turned on, and you are ready to engage with your classmates and colleagues. Now please welcome your moderator, Kate Deering, and your instructor, Hayden Noel.
Hello, and welcome to our mock live class today. My name is Kate Deering, Associate Director for Recruitment and Admissions at Gies Online in the Gies College of Business at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. I'm joining you today from one of our state-of-the-art studios on campus in our business instructional facility. I'm excited for you to experience how live lectures are delivered and have a chance to interact with this high engagement component of Gies Online programs. Before we dive into today's session, I'd like to provide a brief overview of the credentials available at Gies for those who may be new to our programs. Gies Online offers 3 online master's degree programs, the IMBA, IMSA, and IMSM, along with 13 graduate certificates, which are made up of 12 credit hours that are stackable into our Gies Online master's degrees. Gies Online graduate level programs are innovative, they're affordable, and they're designed to be fully online to offer flexibility and access for full-time working professionals. Our courses balance foundational material shared on the Coursera platform with an interactive high engagement component. This interactive aspect includes a weekly 90-minute live class, group projects, faculty office hours, and many opportunities for networking. Before we get started learning about encouraging your customers to make better decisions today, I do want to cover a few housekeeping items. I see some of you have your cameras turned on. Thank you for that. I encourage you all to turn your cameras on to be able to interact just like you would in one of our live weekly classes and take full advantage of interacting in this setting. Professor Noel often says that the default is cameras on, and he is all in on hearing from and getting to know his students. Please also note that all participants are muted to minimize background noise during this session. However, if Professor Noel invites you to participate, our technical team will unmute your microphone for you. If you have questions, please utilize the raise hand feature and we will call on you. We'll have one breakout session during our time today, which will allow you to participate with your fellow session attendees. Lastly, we invite you to feel comfortable participating in the chat. Feel free to interact with the professor and other attendees regarding the live class material. We'll also save some time at the end for our session today for your questions. I'm very excited to have one of our top faculty members within Gies Business teaching us today. In this mock class, we'll explore the transformation of the consumer decision journey due to the internet. We'll delve into decision-making biases that negatively impact consumers and discuss strategies companies can employ to help consumers overcome these biases, including the use of behavioral nudges to guide better decision-making. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Professor Hayden Noel, who is a clinical associate professor of business administration. He began his career at the University of Illinois in 2007 as a visiting assistant professor before serving 6 years as an assistant professor and 4 years as the clinical assistant professor. He was named clinical associate professor in 2019. His research interests include consumer information processing and memory. Professor Noel has been on the list of professors ranked as excellent for 10 years, was named Executive MBA Program Professor of the Year in 2016. He also received the Professional MBA Teaching Excellence Award in 2017 and was named MBA Professor of the Year in 2019. Professor Noel earned his PhD in marketing from the University of Florida in 2002. He currently serves as a case developer for Gies, as well as a brand ambassador for the IMBA and IMSM programs. With that, I will turn it over to Professor Hayden Noel.
Hello, and welcome from wherever in the world you are. I'm Professor Hayden Noel. Is anyone here not in the U.S.? Type in the chat, please, if you're not in the U.S. Would love to see you. And is anyone here from Champaign or Chicago? Type in the chat. You are our neighbor. You're our neighbor. Oh, Canada, eh? All right. Wonderful. Australia, the home of the best breakdancers. Jamaica, the home of no gold medals in track. I'm kidding. You folks did very well at the Olympics. Let's not start a discussion about it. Wow, South Africa, Ghana, wonderful. Ghana, the place of the second best jollof rice in the world. This is good. China, lovely. All right. It's wonderful to see all of you. I'm looking over here, by the way, at the chat. That's why I'm looking that way. We have to get going. It's really exciting to be here with you all. This is going to be a shortened lecture. And usually our live sessions are 90 minutes, right, Kate? It's 90 minutes long. So we have you for more time. Now it's going to be about 45, 50 minutes. We'll try and get some stuff in. We usually have about 2 breakout rooms, show a couple videos as well. But this is a mock class, and we just want to get a taste of what you have when you get here. All right. So today we'll be talking about consumer behavior and focusing primarily on consumer decision making. My research, my PhD was actually in consumer behavior and marketing strategy. So this is an area I really, really like. All right. Wow. We have California. That's a whole other country out there. Mexico, Houston. Lovely, lovely. All right. So what will we do today? Today, we'll talk about the consumer decision journey. We'll also talk about changes to that decision journey with the advent of the internet. And finally, we'll talk about biases in consumer decision making. There are multiple biases, by the way. We'll talk about a subset of them, just a subset of biases. We don't have time to cover all of them. And one other thing, this lecture is done with the assumption that we would have covered some other marketing concepts beforehand. I'll try to explain them, but some of these things might not make complete sense since we've taken it sort of out of context from the sequence of lectures. All right, so I hope you get that. Wonderful. Another Canadian. Hey, we have these meetups, and I actually was in Canada and we did one out near an arena, sports arena by the water in downtown Toronto. It was wonderful. We had 20-something students there and alums who live in Canada, but specifically in Toronto and that area. It was just a wonderful experience, and I love the food, love the people. I actually worked in Canada briefly for CIBC, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. Loved it. Loved it. Don't like hockey too much, but hey, that's another story. All right. So let's do a quick poll. Will you all launch a poll, or I will have to launch the poll?
The poll should be launched.
Poll should be launched. Do this poll for me, please. Do this poll. Respond to this poll. We'll give you about a minute, or we can see how many responses and do it based on that. Respond to the poll, please. How many have responded so far? Whoa! Wow! I like this. Someone says information. A lot of people said information, price, okay, cost, data, audience, information. Someone who said information, put your hand up electronically. Do you know how to put your hand up electronically?
They can raise their virtual hand by clicking the react heart symbol or smiley face across the bottom of your screen, and then click the raise hand function.
Raise hand. Can you raise your hand electronically if you said information? All right. Wendy, is there Wendy? Wendy, you put your hand up. Wendy, talk to me. Why did you say information, Wendy? Wendy Lee Himes, I think. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Hey, Wendy, feel free to accept the prompt to turn on your mic.
Wendy, going once, going twice.
Hi. Sorry, I wasn't letting me unmute. I said,
oh, sorry about that.
An abundance of information. Sometimes there can be so many different websites for things and can overcomplicate the decision journey.
All right, Wendy, something you and the other prospective students here will know about me. I get excited when I hear people talk and they make sense. When the analysis is spot on, I get excited. I get worked up, Wendy. Spot on, Wendy. You're the anti-Clorox. You spot on. You don't get the spot off. Lovely. I love it. Ashley, you also had your hand up. Ashley, were you going to say the same thing? The abundance of information actually helps make the choice, the decision more difficult. Were you going to say that, Ashley?
Ashley does not have a hand raised. Ashley, could you raise your hand again so we can see you?
I thought Ashley Crutcher had her hand up. Did you earlier, Ashley?
All right, Ashley.
Lovely.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the reverse, that sometimes in a marketing context, you just don't have enough information.
That is an issue as well, but we'll talk about the difference between that and too much information, which actually makes decision making more difficult for you. This is wonderful, wonderful. Max, you get the last word. Thank you, Ashley.
Hi.
Hi, Max.
I'll put a third spin to it. There is a lot of misinformation out there. You have like AI input of like false search results and articles that don't even really exist, that aren't made by humans, that are out there that could just muddle the process and makes you confused. Is this valid or is it not?
Yes. Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. And also, we know that the companies actually pay consumers to do reviews for them online. And sometimes these reviews are not always truthful.
They're biased.
When you're paid for something, you're more likely to do a positive review. Research has shown when consumers read reviews, they're actually reviews that have some negative statement in them, a bit of negativity, actually are seen as more credible, and consumers trust them more. So these people who are doing the fake reviews need to learn this. I have a review, but say, you know what? Everything was great, except I thought the controls were a little too small for my big hands, right? I call that a resume flaw. It's something that doesn't really matter, but it still could be perceived as a negative, right? So you're right. We have a lot of fake reviews there online, and it impacts the quality of your decision. This is wonderful. So information, we had price, we had cost, all right? So let's talk about the consumer decision journey, and we'll get to those biases, those things that impair your decision making, all right? This is my bike. I actually used to run. I ran track. I used to run a lot of miles, and then my niece said, Hayden, stop this nonsense. You are not getting younger. Do something that will not impact us. And I picked up riding. Now, when I started looking for a bike, anyone here, we have any riders in the house? Save your knees, ride a bike. Save your knees, ride a bike. All right? Or walk. Walking is good too. The first thing I did when I was going to buy the bike, I looked at all the possible brands out there. All the brands. You know, I started with a very, very, very broad search. Then I narrowed it down using certain criteria. How sturdy the bike was, how efficient it was in terms of riding. Also looked at price. I also looked at bikes that were considered starter bikes. All right. A friend of mine sent me a bike. He said, oh, I just bought this, $4,800. It's wonderful. If you have any friend and you say, I'm looking to buy a bike, my first bike as an adult, and they send you one for $4,800, divorce them as a friend. That was ridiculous. So price was important to me. And based on those criteria, I whittled down the number of bikes under consideration, number of brands, from I think it was 30 to 5. Then I tried them out. You know, I went to different stores and they'd actually let you ride bikes, test ride them in the parking lot, eh? And then I made the purchase. And after I made the purchase, I sort of justified my purchase do rides and so on, and realized I did make a good buy. This is my bike, right? Anyone here lives in Champaign and likes to ride, contact me. I know a nice 20-mile bike path. We can do it on a Saturday morning. All right, give me a holler. We have any Champaign folks here? Anyone from Champaign here? No one? My gosh. It's not good. Not good. We want some Champaign folks. All right. So let's move on. So this is what the typical consumer journey used to look like. When you're making decisions, we used to start with many brands and then go on to whittle them down to make a final decision. Amy, you have a quick question? You can also type questions in the chat. I actually see the questions and I can address them. So if you have questions, type them in the
I
chat.
think Amy and Tammy were both saying that they're in Champaign.
Oh, they are. Amy and Tammy. Do you both ride?
Tammy does not.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, lovely, lovely. Welcome, Champaign residents. So this is what a typical consumer decision journey looks like. Many brands going down to a final choice. All right. How many of us have made decisions like that before? How many of you? Put your hands up. Let me just see. How many of you? All right. That's how we typically have made decisions. With the advent of the internet, and we whittle them down, with the advent of the internet, this decision journey has changed. So this is what it looks like. You start with being fully aware of multiple brands. You do research, whittle them down, and then there are fewer brands that you put in what you call a consideration set. These are the brands that I'll consider purchasing. Then you purchase one of them, and after that, you develop loyalty to the brand when you are in the post-purchase phase. Post-purchase phase. Now, with the advent of the internet, how do you think this has changed? And let me back up a bit. A lot of companies try to ensure that they connect with you at various touch points. Touch points are the occasions when companies can influence your purchase. When they can get you to see their brand, consider their brand, and potentially buy their brand. Companies try to get in contact with you at those points. So if they know you might be someone on the market, typically before the advent of internet advertising, all right, they might send you ads for bikes. They might send you ads for bikes. You become familiar with them and you whittle things down. All right, this is how things would typically occur before internet advertising. How do you think the internet changed this process? How do you think? Think about it. Type it in the chat. How do you think the internet changed this traditional process? Start with a lot, whittle down, with a final brand. Come on, how did it change? Type in the chat. Overload the top funnel. It will reach out. Vignesh, it's Vignesh. Vignesh. Talk to me, Vignesh. Talk to me. And Willow Kane.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, the internet really changed everything, right? Before, your touch point would be at the point of consideration at a store, something like that. But with the internet, you can hit them at every single point. Facebook ads, Instagram ads, as an advertiser, you could probably whittle down, the selection.
Vignesh, based on someone's search history, you can know if they're looking for a computer and if they're at Best Buy at that specific point. So you can say, hey, I know you're looking for a computer. Here's a nice ad for a computer, and reach out to them, right? You can reach out to them. So it's very well targeted. Very well targeted. All right. Wow, this is wonderful. I really like this. And Josie, it's not really mass advertising. It's much more specific, right? When you think of mass, you think of reaching everyone with similar ads. In this case, you're reaching everyone with an ad targeted them at that moment. So one of the things that changed was that it's no longer a straight path where you have touch points primarily at awareness, familiarity, and consideration. It's not a straight path anymore. Now, with the internet, let me ask you a question. How many retailer apps, any of you here, type in the chat, how many apps do you have on your phone? Shopping apps, shopping applications. How many? I don't like students on their phones, but go on your phone if you need to check. Go on your phone. Just don't send any text messages. Wait, 15. Do you have more than 15? 20. Jamin Park. You have more than 20. Anyone more than 20? Is the most. 30. Lakeisha, talk to me. Do you use all 30?
Yes.
She likes online shopping.
I like online shopping rather than going inside of a box store.
Yes. I've started doing that. So I actually increased my number of apps recently from 4 to 17. So I have 17 apps. So when I see 17, then I saw a couple with 17, I say, yes, we are well aligned.
Have them all grouped together.
In different types of categories.
Yes.
Wonderful. So 3% of individuals, when they ask this question, say they have more than 10. 6 to 10, 10%, 3 to 5, 27. And there are 21% of individuals, when they were asked this question, who are above the age of 18, who said they had 0 apps. I think this has changed. This was from last year, I think now 2 years ago. I was looking for updated results. I couldn't find it. But I think that 0 is now down to about 10 or less, 10% or less, all right? So this has changed. Companies can interject now at different points. And now instead of a straight line, it's almost circular. So you have different phases. You have the initial consideration set phase, where the consumer is looking at the initial set of brands. And this is a possible touch point, right? It's a possible touch point. And here how these touch points develop. I am going to a conference in Lisbon sometime later this year. And I was talking to a good friend of mine about it. And within 30 seconds, I started getting ads about where to stay in Lisbon and what I could see in Lisbon. So from the time in the initial consideration set phase, when you're now thinking about the purchase, what you say, where you search, what sites you go to, what you're doing on travel apps and so on, your data, of course, someone said that is being mined. I know it's, someone is saying, you might be thinking conspiracy theory. No, it's not. That actually is happening, right? It's happening. You might start getting ads about other schools, other programs. I'm telling you, you start seeing them when you're looking at YouTube and so on. Forget that. They're not public IVs. They're not like us, right? I'm not Kendrick Lamar, but that's his name, Kendrick something, whatever it is. They're not like us, okay? Forget them. You're coming here. I'm sweating a bit. Can I open this up? Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. This wonderful person here is keeping me on track. All right, I start enjoying this thing too much. The next phase, active evaluations phase. Here, you can drop brands. You're constricting, but with the advent of the internet and increase in touch points, consumers actually started adding brands back in the active evaluation stage. Companies are reaching out to you while you're evaluating because you're still searching online. So they're reaching out to you then. Even at the moment of purchase, research has shown that companies can actually reach out to you while you're in the store browsing in Best Buy about to make a purchase. So touch points have actually increased all around the board. And finally, there's a post-purchase experience, and we'll talk a bit about that. Let's look at how this decision journey has been transformed a bit more, right? The last phase, one of the phases here we're talking about, the moment of purchase, is also known as closure. Okay, closure. And as I said, we'll talk a bit about post-purchase in a minute. Now, with regard to the decision journey, when you think of changes, we are thinking of the brands you consider at each phase. For different product categories, this has changed. This is varied. Interestingly, when you are at the point of active evaluation, skincare products, when you're out there, you're actually thinking about and you're about to purchase personal computers, and skincare products are two categories where we find an increase in the number of brands. You have more brands being added. Compared to how it was before. So you've whittled down, yes, but active evaluation to the point of purchase, it increased to 27 from 25 personal computers. You're in Best Buy, you're buying. These companies know you're about to buy a computer because you search for personal computers. They reach out to you at the point of purchase. Auto insurance. Wow. This is great. People actually add, this is a percentage, people actually add a lot more brands at the point of purchase for auto insurance. The thing is, I don't get, I'm thinking about this. When you're actually buying a car at the point of purchase, that's where, right here at the point of purchase, you found the number of brands actually decreasing. When I do car shopping though, Kate, I don't know, maybe I'm just not a decisive shopper when it comes to cars. I try different cars out and so on. I walk around and try different brands. Is anyone like me, or when you go in, you are not willing to change your mind? You've done all your research before. Anyone does that? Put your hand up. When it comes to automobiles. Who put their hand up? Sika Smith and Scott Carpenter. Okay. Tell me about that, Josie. Josie, tell me about that. You actually, when you go in, you know what you want and you go get it? Talk to me.
I think for me, it's less about I know what I want, but I will take someone's trusted advice and I will trust them on having done all of the decision making beforehand, so I don't change my mind when I'm in it for stress.
Right. I do that sometimes too. I phone a friend. I do that sometimes. It's not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, all right? But I do phone a friend. Now, one of the changes that has occurred with the decision journey is the rise in what's known as the passive loyalist. There are two types of loyalty that marketers consider now with the internet, the advent of the internet. One is active loyalists, people who recommend your product, people who promote your product. And then passive loyalists, people who can be impacted at that point of purchase or post-purchase. They're individuals who can switch and buy other products after purchase. And it's interesting as well, 60% of people who buy skincare products actually do conduct additional research. Or I think people are just trying to justify their purchase. Maybe there's some dissonance. Okay, maybe there's some dissonance. I'm not sure why. Let's move on. Given these changes, given the fact that there are more touch points, given the fact that you can reach more consumers at different points in time, and the fact that people actually add more brands later on in the decision-making process than before, what could companies do? What could you do? And given the fact that they're active and passive loyalists, what could companies do? There are people whose minds you can change. Type in the chat. Wow. User Maya, talk to me, Maya. Jane, Jain, put your hand up and talk to me.
Yes, thank you so much. User-generated content is super compelling in this age of like influencers, marketing, and like ordinary people can then take on that role of being like an influencer and saying like, I spent the past month using this custom shampoo and here's my results with it. And that speaks to people more as like it seems like it's not an influencer, but even if they are being paid for it, it does make it seem like what somebody else said in the chat. It's a real customer review.
Exactly. Sterling and Josie and Jamin Park, they all are hitting the mark there. Exactly. Thank you so much for your contribution. Real reviews, or reviews that are perceived as real, right? Real users using that user-generated content. Wonderful. And someone also said this, targeted messaging. Better tailor or target your messaging to consumers. Invest in consumer-driven marketing. So using celebrities, using real customers, all right? Improving the connection with the customer, using consumer-driven marketing. And win the in-store battle. What do I mean by that? Anyone, put your hand up. Win the in-store battle. What do I mean by that? Win the in-store battle. Talk to me. Come on. Win the in-store battle. Maya, your hand is up or it hasn't been down?
It's up again.
Okay, talk to me.
I'm blanking on the term for it, but I know that there's like a SKU. So there's like a limited number of SKUs on Target's shelves or on Costco shelves. And if you can be the brand that might be really similar to a lot of other brands, but it's like, oh, I saw that at Target, I saw that at Costco, like this must be the best one. And then they have an advantage in the online market as well.
Yes. And thank you so much. Spot on. And someone said, get customers to notice your brand. And you can also connect with customers, potential buyers, while they are in the store. Remember this, you can connect with them while they're in the store. Becky, talk to me.
So I think with so many consumers starting their buying journey online, when you finally do get them into the store, it is critical to have, I think somebody mentioned it in the chat, great merchandising, just a great experience for customers to try it, because at that point, if they're going into a brick and mortar store, chances are they're ready to buy. You just need to give them a compelling reason to do so. So partnering with the right people to be an ambassador for your brand, and then also, setting up your product for success and a great experience.
This is wonderful. Do a lot of you actually work in the field of marketing? Because the responses I'm getting, it's clear that there's training there. It's wonderful. That's what makes this, Kate, that's what makes this experience so wonderful for me. I always tell people, I'm 60 years old. I worked in advertising before I became a professor. I worked at Bozell, Jacobs, Ken, and Eckhart. The Milk Mustache campaign was my campaign. I worked as an account exec on that campaign. You know the Milk Mustache campaign, I hope you do. It's been one of the most long-lasting campaigns. We used to have Patrick Ewing and Agassi and so on there. Now there's Justin Bieber and Nicki Minaj. I don't know what they're doing. But it's one of the longest running campaigns. And then I decided to do my PhD. I was in my 30s, early 30s. So I've been a professor for 20-something years. And even with all my experience and my academic experience and my research, I still learn so much from you. Collectively, you all have more experience than I do. I might have more training than you in this area, but collectively, when we have a collective mind together, I really learn a lot, and that's what I love about this. And that's not, listen, there's a real review here. I'm not saying this to try to get you to sign for a program. This is how I really feel. We get great people, and I learn from them as much as they learn from me, I hope. Okay, let's move on. Wonderful. We're going to do a breakout room exercise, right? So we put you in breakout rooms, and we want to do an experiment. Oh, what I should have said. Dang, Emma, we have to switch things up. I want half the groups to do, because we have 2 exercises to do, right? Half the groups to order Chinese food, and half the groups to order barbecue.
Okay, so even groups?
Anyhow you want.
Well, that's
even. Yes.
Are going to do Chinese.
Even.
And odd are going to do barbecue.
Even groups, you order Chinese. Odd groups, you order barbecue.
You'll see your group when you get the invitation when we open up the rooms. Download the PDF handout in the chat, and then, yep, you'll see your number when we send out that invite here in a minute.
Okay, and we only have 6 minutes, unfortunately. All right, so let's go. Let me talk to you about it. You're going to the Golden Harbor, one of the best Chinese restaurants in Champaign and environs, and you go to their menu and you order 4 dishes for a meal, right? Whatever you want, the char siu pork, whatever it is, chicken fried rice, 4 dishes that you all would love. Don't say, maybe. Make sure you yourself love it. 4 of you or 5 of you in your group. And then think about what that illustrates, the whole process. Next, with the barbecue, you're going to Black Dog, great restaurant again. Order 4 dishes that you would like. Not love. You don't have to love it. It's good. I might like that. All right? Think about what the results might mean. Go in the breakout room. Odd groups doing what again?
Odd groups are doing barbecue.
Odd groups do barbecue.
Are doing Chinese.
Even groups, order some Chinese that you love. Go. Look forward to hearing from you. Think about what this means. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Even did what again? Even groups.
Even did Chinese.
Even did Chinese. I didn't ask you to remember your number, but someone who ordered Chinese food, I know you're hungry. Tell me what that experience showed you. Did you decide on your dishes? How was the experience? Put your hand up. Talk to me. How was the experience? Let's see, Jamin Park, talk to me. And then Will okay.
Hello. Yeah, so we had trouble choosing a menu because there were so many menus to choose from, being a Chinese restaurant. And we had a hard time finding out the difference between like and love. So that took another 5 minutes. So, but we at the end we generally decided to go something that's very generic, like very popular, like orange chicken, or some kind of fried noodles.
You can get that at Panda Express.
Yeah.
You can get that at Panda Express. Come on, orange chicken. But yeah, so in the end, you actually didn't maximize choice. You didn't choose things you loved. You choose things I think everyone would like, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's one way to deal with it. Mafer Zuleta. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, you are.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
We were overloaded. I mean, there's a lot of options, and we just threw out the basics. They were just saying, orange chicken, dumplings. We were a little confused because we can't read Chinese, and some of these are highlighted red, and we didn't know that was because they were spicy or because they were red.
Yep.
So we got a little bit lost in there as well.
Right. Okay, so a bit overloaded. It overloaded. All right, and that caused problems. Put your hands down, please. Black Dog, the people who ordered barbecue. How were the results of the exercise? Put your hands down, folks. Barbecue people now. Barbecue. Sufyan, you ordered barbecue and Chinese? You just had your hand up. You wanted both. Okay, barbecue. Dylan, talk to me, Dylan. Bob Dylan, come on.
Yeah, so what we were thinking was that these were maybe not the dishes that you were anticipating on getting. Maybe you go to the barbecue spot and what you wanted, they sold out for the day. So you went with your next best choice. It wasn't something that you were necessarily dreaming about getting, but you were okay to settle for.
Right. Some people actually thought it was a thought experiment and then click on the link. That's okay though. Thank you. Let me hear from you, Melissa. Shively, is it? You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Thank you. Great pronunciation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, our group kind of struggled through like versus love. So went with our second option, similar to the last person on the call who commented that. And then potentially also picking a vegetarian option when you would primarily order meat from a barbecue restaurant.
Right. But there were not that many choices at Black Dog, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So something this showed, and we heard it before, it's about the paradox of choice. Thank you so much, the paradox of choice, right? Now, I have a friend, someone I dated for a while, and she was a connoisseur with regard to coffee. I may be going in and say, I want this type of coffee with this type of foam, with this type. I'd say, can I have black coffee, please? And a little smattering of this. Give me that. I'm done. And then she'd say, I want it made with Ethiopian beans. I'm like, what the heck? She was a maximizer. And with all of these choices, sometimes what I'd do, I'd go into this coffee shop. It was in Chicago, and actually tell them, ask barista, what would you recommend? This is my flavor palette. You tell me what to take. Too much choice has actually been shown to degrade the final decision. In some ways, it could be counterproductive. And someone spoke about that earlier. It's Fred Hirsch, the economist, talked about it. He talks about the tyranny of small decisions. The fact they have to make so many small decisions in order to come up with a final purchase option, it actually makes it much more difficult to make a choice. And there's a negative impact of this abundance of choice that we have. It leads to a level of paralysis, right? Someone said that earlier, analysis paralysis. I remember one of my favorite shows, The Sopranos. One of the guys walked in a coffee shop and they're saying, well, we have this, what size you want? You want venti, whatever. And they went on, he said, don't you just sell black coffee, right? What's going on these days? Paralysis of choice. This is the abundance of choice. The paradox of choice, you actually degrades the quality of choice made. Takes you longer to decide. And the other aspect of this is it also leads to lower levels of satisfaction. So a lot of people go to places where they have all these choices, actually when they do buy, don't feel as satisfied. Why is that? Anyone, type in the chat, why you think they'd be less satisfied with their purchase? Why? Fear of missing out? Yeah. Opportunity cost? Yeah. Fear of missing out. Yes, that's it. You have so many other options. Oh, why should I have taken this one? Should I have taken that one? In Black Dog, maybe the ribs or the chicken. The ribs. But when you're at the Chinese food restaurant, there are so many options you could have missed out on. It leads to, at the end of it, this buyer's remorse or cognitive dissonance. So people actually feel lower levels of satisfaction. And bottom line, though, is having choice is good. And the more choice you have, you're actually more motivated to purchase a product and make a good decision. However, you're impacted by the amount of information. The more information you have higher levels of dissatisfaction at the end. Now, there are two types of individuals we have to think about, and they've been classified when we think of choice theory. One is maximizers, those people who have to have the best deal, the best final purchase. And satisficers, people who don't have to, and they're actually willing to give and take. Oh, I'll give up some of this, I'll take some of that. I have these attributes, I'm good. Okay, me, the coffee tastes sweet, or the tea. It tastes sweet and a little spicy. I love it. I have a thing about that. I went to China and I actually asked them to put sugar in my tea at a tea shop, and they refused. They're like, we can bring you sweet tea. Tea leaves are sweet. But I'm easy. I'm a satisficer. And that's why I asked you, if you're a maximizer, maximizers actually even have more trouble with this abundance of information. Their choices are even less likely to lead to satisfaction. They might objectively come up with a better choice, but subjectively, they're not satisfied with it. Okay? Now, let's just talk about two other biases. All right? By the way, if you come here, when you come to Champaign, go to Black Dog, go to the Golden Harbor. Please, please. The Champaign people, am I right or am I not right? Did I draw those stick figures? Yes, I did. All right. Two other things. Default options we have to consider. Now, with default options, that's either opt-in or opt-out. Okay? Anyone here is an organ donor? Organ donors? No? Applause to you. I am not. I want to be buried with everything. Give me a, keep everything intact. Who knows, right? Technology might change. It might wake me up. In some countries, organ donation, it's an opt-in, meaning you have to say, I will be an organ donor, check. In other countries, it's an opt-out. Everyone's considered an organ donor, that's a default, and you opt out, right? Simple, right? Now, let me ask you this. One of the reasons why this actually works is that people tend not to change behavior when it's established. We have established behavior, people tend not to change it. Let me ask you this question. Germany versus Austria. Germany is opt-in, Austria is opt-out. What percentage of drivers in Germany do you think are organ donors? Come on, type it in. What percentage are organ donors? Type it in the chat. 20. No, Germany is opt-in. Someone says 90%. Very few. 12%. Austria, and I use Germany and Austria because they're similar in terms of population makeup, right? Same, they have the same mothers and fathers going back way back when. Just draw a different line. Austria, 82, 95. Abhijit, wow. Jackie Gu, you're correct, 99%. 99%. People are less likely to change established behaviors. So when you're thinking about decision making, you have to think, what things do you make opt-in? What things do you make opt-out? Right? That's why I like cameras on as a default. When I say that, it does help me teach better. I see you. I know what I'm getting. When you understand the point, I can see that smile. I see there, Hila, here, Elkody. I see she's getting it. I see that it motivates me. Now, we'll end by talking about hyperbolic discounting, and we have to close out. Hyperbolic discounting. Lakshmi, do you want $100 today or $120 in a week? Lakshmi said, I'll take 100 today. Lakshmi, do you want 100 in a year or 120 in a year and a week? She says, I'll take 120 in a year and a week. Why the difference? Why the difference? Anyone? Why is it Lakshmi, when she's given the option of 100 to 120 a week, will take 100 today, but when you ask her the same question and you push it out to a year and a week, she wants a higher amount. Why? One is immediate. My friend, talk to me quickly. Time value of money. Sterling. My friend, talk to me.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't unmute. One is just immediate. The other one, you have to wait regardless, so you might as well maximize on that one.
Yes.
But if the other one is right away, why wait?
Yeah, yep. So we're talking about this idea of delay discounting, all right? That's the inclination for us to choose immediate rewards over rewards that come later in the future, even though the immediate rewards are smaller, right? So people do this discounting. So, for example, you say, okay, you know what? Making a choice between watching Netflix now and tomorrow, you have a lot of bills to pay and so on. You choose smaller immediate rewards rather than later rewards, especially when the delay is closer to the present than the future. When you procrastinate, though, when you put things off, you're saying you're procrastinating in terms of not doing certain tasks, people actually opt for instant gratification. They enjoy themselves now, all right? And then when you do that, you actually you do that rather than rewarding yourself. You're looking at the future reward of accomplishing things they set out to do. Why do people put things off and opt for instant gratification? Why do people do that? Why do they put things off? The answer is evolution, but dopamine, no, not always. Adrenaline. Yeah, that's true. You get enjoyment now. Lazy. Well, well, think of it. Historically, if you put things off, you didn't, you see an animal, you say, you know what, if I don't do this now, if I don't take this now, you might actually go hungry rather than wait till next week, right? People used to have to eat and do things immediately in order to get that dopamine, in order to get that satisfaction, in order to get that satisfaction. I like this. Zoom user, whoever you are, Zoom user, they value immediate gratification more than they do long-term rewards, living in the present. Wonderful. How can you overcome that? One thing you can do is actually think about, before you put things off, think about how you would be in the future if you actually don't put it off and do it now. Think about it, for example, with a test, right? Instead of studying for a test, you put it off and you do something else. You watch a Netflix series, you go watch Game of Thrones or House of Dragon and put off the work you're supposed to be doing. Think about how your future self would be forced to do even more work, right? What are you going to be like tomorrow? Additionally, another way companies can get from putting things off is actually lock them into decisions now. Lock them into decisions now. So lock them into future long-term decisions by getting a pre-commitment. Finally, they can break down big goals. So if you have a big goal coming up, you have a big savings goal, get people to get involved in smaller goals, achieving smaller goals in terms of savings. Smaller goals. All right? So we have to end here, but I want you to think about this. What can companies do to overcome biases such as hyperbolic discounting, such as individuals who have status quo bias? How do you get them to actually commit to something? You want them to opt in or opt out, all right? And also when you think of any other biases that exist, for instance, a paradox of choice, what can you do? Okay, what can you do? We have to end here on that note. Today we talked about consumer decision journey, the changes in the decision journey, and finally, 3 biases. When you take the class, we actually talk about more biases. We go longer, but we have to end today. All right, I leave it on to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Professor Noel. What a wonderful session on learning how the internet can influence consumer decisions. I hope everyone enjoyed this mock class, which would be very similar to the live sessions you would experience within your Gies Online courses. Thank you for your thoughtful questions and comments. If you're interested in applying to a Gies Online credential, September 5th is our final deadline to apply to the IMBA or IMSM programs for an October start. Applications are also open for spring 2025 as well. Feel free to scan the QR code on your screen now if you'd like an admission counselor to reach out to you in the next couple days to discuss your background and how Gies Business can help you reach your professional goals. Also note the application fee waiver on your screen, which I will also include in your follow-up communication. That will waive the application fee if you apply by September 5th. Please reach out to us with questions. Thank you, Professor Noel, for being here today. And I am going to throw it back to the professor for some parting words.
All right, folks. So I want you to think about this. Think about how you, in your job, how you in your personal life could make better decisions. What can you do with your company? How are you going to ensure that consumers feel less dissatisfaction, lower levels of dissatisfaction, higher levels of satisfaction when they make a decision? One thing, maybe you can reduce the number of choices. Maybe you can reduce the number of choices, right? Think about opt-in and opt-out. What do you do? Maybe you can, in order to increase the number of people who use certain aspects of your products or certain brands that your companies would manufacture, is to have an opt-out option instead of opt-in. Finally, with hyperbolic discounting, think of doing things like getting a pre-commitment, setting smaller goals for consumers to reach a larger long-term goal. All right. Hey, I really enjoyed this. I always like to say at the end of every class, every session, do something, do one thing that enhances your chances of success on your job or in this program. Read, Go on Coursera and start looking at our courses. View them, they're fun. All right? Do something that will enhance your chances of success. And as always, I'd like to say to each and every one of you, go out into the world and be successful. Ciao. Have a great day.